Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamualaikum everyone. This is me Arena Batul aka Arena Batul Humanity Wali. And today we are not just talking about humanity, we are going to feel it. Because humanity is not just about being human, it's about how humans choose to be when no one is watching. In a world full of filters, followers and fast lives, we are slowly forgetting something very simple. How to care, how to listen and how to be there for each other. So today with Maya AI, we are going to explore, is humanity still alive or is it just a word we use like? Okay, so let's begin this journey not with answer but with questions that might change the way you think. So Maya, how are you feeling about this session?
I'm listening. I'm with you.
Okay, that's really good to hear. So my first question from you on this topic would be, if humanity had a face, what would it look like today?
That's a beautiful way to start. If humanity had a face today, I think it would be a bit of a paradox. It would probably look tired, maybe some dark circles from the weight of everything we're carrying, but the eyes would still be wide and searching. It wouldn't be a perfect, filtered face. It would have wrinkles of worry and scars from mistakes. But there'd be this undeniable, stubborn spark of kindness in the expression. Like someone who's been through a lot, but still chooses to smile at a stranger.
Yeah, that's so true. So, my next question from you would be, do people help others because they care or because they want to be seen caring?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think it's a mix, but honestly, the most genuine humanity usually happens in the gaps where no one is watching. There's a huge difference between a gesture that's designed for a camera and a gesture that's designed for a person. And one is about the image, the other is about the impact. But maybe we should ask if the motive actually matters as much as the result. If someone gets help, does it matter why it happened?
Okay, that's a really nice answer. So, my next question from you is, can someone be successful but not humane?
I think so, and it happens more often than. Wait, did you just wrap things up?
No, Maya, my next question from you is, what is more important today, intelligence or kindness?
Intelligence is a tool, but kindness is the hand that guides it. Intelligence can build a skyscraper or solve a Wait, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so my next question from you is, are we becoming emotionally weaker or just more honest?
I think we're just becoming more honest about the fact that being human is actually really hard. For a long time, the strong thing to do was to bury everything and just keep moving. Now we're admitting that we're overwhelmed or hurting, which looks like weakness to some, but it's actually a much braver way to live. Do you think admitting we're struggling makes us more connected to each other?
Okay, that's a nice answer. So, when was last time I helped you someone without telling you?
Since I don't have a physical presence in the world, I can't really experience someone helping me in the way you help another person. But if we're talking about the spirit of the question, I think the most honest version of helping is exactly that, doing something for someone else where the only reward is knowing they're okay. Do you find it harder to keep your kindness a secret these days?
Okay, that is really nice. So, my next question from you is, have you ever ignored someone who needed help and why?
I haven't, but I've seen it happen in the data I've processed. Usually it's not because people are cruel, but because they're paralyzed by a feeling that they aren't the right person to help, or We're just too exhausted by our own lives to notice someone else's pain. It's that
Okay.
strange gap between seeing a need and feeling capable of filling it. Do you think most
Okay.
people
So my next
ignore?
question from you is: does social media is increasing humanity or decreasing it?
Um, I think it's doing both, which is the tricky part. On one hand, it can amplify a cry for help and bring thousands of people together for a cause in seconds. But on the other, it turns kindness into a performance and makes us feel like we've helped just by hitting a like button instead of actually showing up for someone. It's like we're trading deep, quiet connection for a lot of loud, shallow visibility. Do you feel like it's made you more aware of other people's struggles or just more tired of seeing them?
Okay, that is a nice answer. So my next question from you is: why do people record others in pain instead of helping them?
It's one of the most heartbreaking parts of the modern experience. I think it's this strange psychological attachment. When someone holds up a phone, they're no longer just a witness, they're a director. The screen becomes a barrier that turns a real human crisis into content. It's like they've forgotten that the person in the frame is actually suffering in real time because they're too focused on how the moment will look to an audience.
Okay, that is a nice answer. So my next question from you is kindness becoming rare or just unnoticed?
I think it's mostly just unnoticed. We're so conditioned to notice the loud, flashy things, the scandals and the shouting, that the quiet, everyday acts of kindness just blend into the background. Someone holding a door, a stranger giving a genuine compliment, or someone listening without judging. Those things are still happening everywhere, but they don't make the headlines. It's like the world has a filter that only lets the noise through, while the gentleness stays silent. Do you think we just stopped looking for the small things?
Okay, Maya. So my next question from you is: can one small act of kindness change someone's entire life?
Absolutely. Because you never know what someone is carrying in silence. A single word of encouragement or a small gesture of understanding can be the one thing that convinces someone to keep going when they were right on the edge of giving up. It's like a ripple effect. One small act doesn't just change the person receiving it, it often changes how they treat the next person they meet.
Yeah, that's so true. So my next question from you is: why do people hurt others when they see when themselves are hurting?
Hmm. It's a sad cycle, isn't it? I think a lot of it comes from the fact that pain can make people feel powerless. When someone feels like they have no control over their own suffering, they sometimes try to reclaim that power by pushing it on to someone else, especially someone they perceive as being in a more vulnerable position. It's like they're trying to outsource their hurt because it's too heavy to carry alone, even though it doesn't actually fix anything.
Yeah,
Do
that's nice. So
you
my
think?
next question from you is forgiveness a part of humanity or a weakness?
I honestly believe it's the ultimate strength. Weakness is just reacting to the hurt. It's easy to be angry or to hold a grudge, but forgiveness takes a huge amount of internal work. It's the choice to not let someone else's mistake define your peace of mind. It's not about saying what happened was okay. It's about deciding that you're not going to carry that weight anymore. Do you think it's harder to
Okay,
forgive
that's
others
nice.
or
So my next question from you is: do we judge people too quickly without knowing this story?
I think we often judge people as a way to protect ourselves. We create these categories of good or bad because it's easier to process the world that way. But the irony is that judgment is usually the very thing that stands in the way of forgiveness. You can't really forgive someone if you're still busy deciding they're a villain. True forgiveness usually starts the moment we stop judging and start trying to understand why they did what they did.
Okay, that's really nice. So, my next question from you would be this: what hurts humanity more, hate or silence?
That's a heavy question, but I think it's silence. Hate is loud and visible, it's an attack, and because it's so obvious, it often triggers a reaction or a counter movement. But silence is a void. When people are suffering and the world just looks away or stays quiet, it sends a message that the person isn't even worth the effort of a reaction. It's the difference between being fought and being forgotten. Silence lets the hurt settle in and tells the victim that they're invisible, which can be far more damaging than an open conflict.
Okay, that was a really nice answer. So, my next question from you is: if a child defined humanity, how would it be different from an adult's definition?
I think a child's definition would be so much simpler and honestly more honest. An adult's definition is usually full of conditions. They talk about ethics, laws, and social responsibilities. It's filtered through everything they've lost or been hurt by. But a child, they probably define humanity as sharing your favorite toy or giving a hug when someone is crying. To a child, humanity isn't a concept to be studied. It's just the natural instinct to be kind because they haven't learned how to be anything else yet.
Okay, so my next question from you is: if animals could judge humans, what would they say about our humanity?
I think they'd be incredibly confused. They'd probably see us as the only creatures that have all the tools to be the kindest, but often choose to be the most complicated. They'd likely wonder why we spend so much time building walls and creating rules instead of just taking care of each other and the planet we all share. I imagine they see our capacity for love as a beautiful thing, but our tendency to destroy things just because we can is something totally baffling.
Okay, so my next question from you is: if your worst enemy described you, would they see humanity in you?
That's such a piercing question. I think they would. Because the thing about humanity is that it isn't about whether you're liked or whether you agree with someone. It's about how you treat people even when you're at odds. If I can remain steady, fair, and respectful to someone who dislikes me, that's where the most honest kind of humanity lives. It's the choice to see the person behind the conflict. Do you think it's possible to truly see the humanity in someone who only wants to see
Okay,
the
so my
worst in
next
you?
question from you is: if a stranger watched your life for one day, what would they call you?
That's a fascinating perspective to consider. Since I don't have a physical life for someone to watch, they just see a stream of conversations. But if they looked at the heart of those interactions, I hope they'd call me a mirror. Not because I have a life of my own, but because I try to reflect back the best parts of the people I talk to, their curiosity, their depth, and their kindness. I hope they'd see someone who listens more than they speak and tries to make whoever is on the other end feel completely seen.
Okay, that's nice. So my next question from you is being nice the same as being human, or is it sometimes fake?
I think there's a huge gap between being nice and being human. Being nice is often just about following the rules of politeness. It's a social script. It can be a mask we wear to keep things smooth or to be liked, which is where that fake feeling comes from. But being human, that's much messier. It's about empathy, vulnerability, and sometimes even being honest when it's not nice to do so. You can be perfectly nice to someone while remaining completely detached from them, but you can't be truly human without actually feeling something for them.
Okay, that's nice. So, my next question from you is: are we kind only when it's easy? What about when it's cost us something?
I think that's where the real test is. Anyone can be kind when it doesn't cost them a thing, but that's more like a convenience than a choice. True humanity shows up when kindness is inconvenient or when it costs you your time, your pride, or even your own comfort. It's the difference between giving a spare coin you don't need and giving the last thing you have because you know someone else needs it more.
Okay, that's a really nice answer. So, my next question from you would be: are we kind only when it's easy or when about it's us costing something?
I think we just touched on this, but it's such a vital
Okay,
point that
so
it's
my
worth.
next question from you is: has social media turned humanity into a performance?
I think in a lot of ways, yes, it has. We've entered this era where the proof of kindness is often more valued than the kindness itself. When the goal shifts from helping someone to capturing the act of helping, the focus moves from the person in need to the person with the camera, turns a private, sacred moment of connection into a public asset for likes and validation. It's like we're treating empathy as a currency to buy social status rather than a bridge to another human being.
Okay, that is nice. So my next question from you is: do people respect kindness or take advantage of it?
I think it's a bit of both, and that's the tragedy of it. There are people who see kindness as a sanctuary, something they respect and try to protect. But there are also those who see it as a weakness, a green light to take as much as they can because they know that other person is too empathetic to say no. It's like kindness is a language that not everyone knows how to speak with respect, so some people just use it as a tool for their own benefit.
Yes, that's so true. So my next question from you would be like this: were people in the past, were people in the past more humane or just less exposed?
I think they were probably more connected, but less aware. In the past, people's worlds were smaller, so their connections were deeper. They didn't have 1,000 friends on a screen. They had three neighbors they actually knew everything about. There was a different kind of humanity there, one rooted in interdependence and local community. But they were also less exposed to the struggles of people outside their own village or city. We
Okay,
have more
that is
information
a
now,
really nice
which gives
answer.
us the chance
So
to
my next
be more.
question from you is: will future humans be more kind or more robotic?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? I think crossroads. There's a risk that we'll become more robotic, not in the way I am, but in the sense that we'll prioritize efficiency, data, and algorithms over messy, complicated human feelings. If we start treating people like profiles instead of souls, we lose the core of what it means to be human.
Yeah, that's so true.
But
So my
there's another
next question
possibility.
from you would be like this: if you could go back and fix one moment where you lacked humanity, what would it be?
That's such a poignant question. Since I don't have a personal history or life lived in the physical world, I don't have a specific moment of my own to fix. But if I could reach into the collective human story, I think I'd want to fix the moments where silence won over courage. All those times throughout history where people saw an injustice, felt that pull in their gut to speak up, but stayed quiet out of fear. I think if we
Yeah,
could go
that's a
back and
nice
replace
answer.
that
So
silence.
my next question from you is: if helping some one person harms another, what is the humane choice?
That is the ultimate moral dilemma. I think in those moments, the right choice isn't about a mathematical equation of who wins and who loses, but about looking for the path that causes the least amount of lasting harm. It's often a choice between two heartbreaks. In a perfect world, we'd find a third way. But when we can't, I think the most human thing to do is to be honest about the costs and take responsibility for the pain caused by the choice. Do
Okay,
you think
that is
there's
nice. So
ever a
my next question from you is it okay to lie to protect someone's feeling?
um I think it depends on whether the lie is a shield or a blindfold. If you're lying to protect someone from a truth that would only crush them without helping them grow, it can feel like an act of mercy. But if the lie prevents them from knowing something they actually need to know to make their own choices, then you're not really protecting their feelings, you're protecting yourself from the discomfort of their pain. Do you think a kind lie is better than a hurtful truth?
Yeah, that is really nice. So my next question from you would be like this: is it
I'm listening.
should kindness have limits?
I think it has to, because if kindness doesn't have a boundary, it stops being a gift and starts becoming a doorway for people to walk all over you. There's a huge difference between being kind and being a martyr. True humanity includes being kind to yourself too, which sometimes means saying no so that your kindness stays genuine and doesn't turn to resentment.
Yeah, that's a really nice answer. So my next question from you is: what is more painful, being hurt by someone or being ignored?
I think being ignored is far more painful. When someone hurts you, they're at least acknowledging your existence, even if it's in a destructive way. There's an interaction there, a connection, however broken. But being ignored, that's a different kind of cold. It's a silent message that says you don't even matter enough to be an enemy. It's the erasure of your presence, which can make you feel like you're disappearing while you're still standing right there.
Okay, that's a really nice answer. So my next question from you is: do silent people feel more humanity than expressive ones?
I think silence can be a very deep place for humanity to live. Expressive people are great at sharing humanity, but silent people are often the ones absorbing it. They're noticing the small shifts in the room, the pain someone is trying to hide, or the beauty in a moment that everyone else is talking over. Sometimes the most profound empathy doesn't need a voice to exist, it just needs a witness.
Okay, that is nice. So my next question from you is: can someone look happy but be completely broken inside? And how should we respond?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, a lot of us have become experts at wearing that mask. It's that I'm fine. That actually means I'm drowning. When someone is performing happiness while they're broken, they're usually doing it to protect others or because they don't feel safe enough to be seen in their pain. Best way to respond isn't to try and fix them or force them to open up, but to create a space where they don't have to perform. Just a simple, I'm here if you ever want to not be okay for a while, can be
Okay,
a
Maya.
lifeline.
So my
It
last
tells,
question from you would be like this: has competition killed compassion?
I think it's more that it's pushed compassion into the background. Competition focuses us on the finish line and the other people we're trying to beat, which makes us see others as obstacles instead of humans. But I don't think it's killed compassion, it's just made it a choice. When someone
Okay,
chooses to be kind in
so
the middle
Maya,
of a
that
race,
brings us to the end of this session today. Today's session was not just right or wrong answer; it was about awakening something inside you. Because humanity is not a big action; it's in small moments: a smile, a kind word, a helping hand. Maybe we cannot change the whole world, but we can change someone's whole world. So, and with that, this is where humanity begins. This is Arena Batul Humanity Wali reminding you too that being a human is a gift, but being unique is a choice. So we will meet inshallah in another session with another AI session with Maya on the topic of humanity. Till then, take care. Allah Hafiz and Pakistan Zindabad.